Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Happy Movie Mangoes podcast. I'm Spencer,
I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be talking about our top five favorite animated movies ranked. So we're going to have a list of five. We're going to start with our fifth favorite, go down to our very favorite animated movie, and go from there.
Don won't be here today, so we'll read his notes.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, also before you start, we did not include claymation animation things. So those were off the table.
No Nightmare Before Christmas and no Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Okay, number five. So my fifth favorite animated movie ever is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And
Oh,
yeah. So just to give a quick premise for people who don't know, Miles Morales accidentally kills Peter Parker and then takes over his life. That's the plot. This movie is really good because you can just tell with every aspect of the film that's made by people who just absolutely love Spider-Man and know Spider-Man and they understand the comics and the movies and all the different Spider-Man variants. And so it's not necessarily like as far as like the animation is actually really creative, but as far as like the storytelling, it's not like the most groundbreaking stuff. It's just a really well done movie. And for as far as like the animation style, I really like it just because it has like that like an edgy comic book feel where it kind of matches like a character like Miles Morales where he's like really into graffiti and so it's kind of has like that comic book slash graffiti look and like the music also matches like the tone.
yes, song by Post Malone. Super good.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like that movie too, especially the animation style. I feel like I haven't seen very many movies like that style. So,
Yeah, apparently like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, uh they they did their movie the exact same style. So their last movie.
I haven't seen that one, but
I don't think anyone did. So Dallin's fifth favorite animated movie is The Emperor's New Groove.
oh, that's a good one too.
Yep. He says it's about an emperor sometime in South America where he's spoiled and is an unfair ruler, but then gets overthrown, turned into a llama, needs help from a villager to reclaim the throne. And he says the movie's hilarious for its wacky story, and it's very compelling for a character changing and learning to become a better person. This is also like a 2D animated movie, and there's also like plenty of mixes of 3D stuff, and it looks good. And he says it's peak Disney.
Yeah, there's a lot of quotable lines from that movie.
Yeah, I really don't like watching that movie with other people because they most likely will quote every single line of that movie while watching
Yeah,
it. So, but yeah, it's great. And yeah.
yeah, it's really funny.
All right, Spencer, what's your number five?
Okay, my number five. Before I get into my list, I just want to say I put my list together really fast. So it may not be the most accurate top five of mine,
Hmm.
but I really like these movies. So my number five is Sing. Have you seen
Ooh.
Sing?
No, I haven't actually seen Sing, but
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the plot is basically like The Greatest Showman. The one reason I really like this movie, there's one clip that's like 3 seconds long, but this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not too big. But this a monkey dad, so they're all animals, by the way. It's like
mm,
The Greatest Showman, but they're all animals. So the monkey dad is like in prison, but he escaped from prison to watch his son perform or whatever. And then the son was saying goodbye to his dad because his dad had to run away or else he'd get caught again.
hmm.
And as he's running away, he like starts to run away and then he stops and he turns around and goes, heh, and then just keeps going. And it is my favorite clip ever of any animated movie. And because it makes no sense. Like, oh, I laugh every time I see it. Even talking about it, it like makes me laugh. But
Huh.
yeah, that's my fifth favorite movie, animated
Wow.
movie.
Yeah, Sing. Did you like Sing too?
Yeah, but it wasn't as good as the first one.
Okay. All right. So my fourth favorite movie of all time is The Incredibles.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So premise, Bob Parr is a superhero who's forced to retire by public opinion and the government. And so he's dealing with a midlife crisis of being a father and working a job that he hates. I think it's one of like the best stories because with like superheroes, they usually do like an origin story or, hero versus hero or heroes are evil. This is one of like the unique stories where it's like a midlife crisis story and they're taking like the theme of superheroes.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And I think some of the best stories are written like from like the view of the father, like the father's perspective on what's happening.
Hmm.
Like with the animation in specific with the Incredibles, it's like really good because like the background's like almost realistic in a sense that it's like everything looks very clean and exciting and like vibrant. But like the characters themselves, like their facial structures and their body shapes match their personality so well. Where it's like a lot of the short people are kind of like morally questionable, like the villain or his boss or Edna. She's
Yeah.
they're kind of like crazy and like or like Bob Parr is like he's like this big man, but it's kind of like resembling he's got like a big heart. So very like loving and but also a strong character. It's really I think it's I love that movie. It's just like the pacing is perfect and every moment's great.
Yeah. And it had one of the craziest cliffhangers ever.
Oh, the ending?
Yeah.
Uh,
And the cliffhanger was like 8 years or something like that before they
oh,
like finally made another
yeah.
one.
Yeah. I actually didn't like the second one. So
Yeah.
yeah. The Underminer.
Sequels are just never as good as the first.
Yeah, there's like few exceptions where it's like The Dark Knight or Empire Strikes Back, but most of the time. So down to number four is Tarzan. That's interesting.
Oh,
So the premise is about a child who gets raised by apes in Africa and wants to understand where he fits in the world, also known as Eminem. I don't know what
wait,
that means.
what?
I don't know what that means. Like Eminem the rapper. So I don't know how that makes any sense, but
Oh, is that wait, read it again? Is that like a
so
line from one of his songs?
could be he wants to understand where he fits in the world, also known as Eminem.
Oh.
The movie is great because it shows a very compelling story about someone trying to discover where he fits and whether or not he finds his true family. This animation was peak Disney 2D animation, which is great color and contrast, which I have to agree with. I also really like Tarzan. I think like the color with everything it has going on is like super interesting with like the green and like the lighting. So really spectacular.
Yeah, I really like the music scene in Tarzan. They just
Yeah.
start beating stuff and it makes a song.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were talking about Phil Collins for a second.
Oh, his music is also really good too.
Mm-hmm. Scabadap, doobadoop, dabadap, dabadoo.
Yeah. Don't sing too much of it or we'll get copyrighted.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, my number four, I put Ratatouille.
Wow.
I don't know why I picked this one. I really like it. I feel like I can remember most of the movie, which is rare for me.
Mhm,
And I think the idea of rats making food is kind of funny. I also really like the scene where he eats like the cheese and the berry and there's like the fireworks and
mhm.
that always makes me like hungry whenever I see that scene. So
Yeah. After you just said that, I'm like, wow, I really want like some cheese and berries right now. It's like,
yeah.
mm,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's my number four. Not a whole lot of thought went into that, but I like it. Oh, and I've actually had ratatouille. Like my wife made ratatouille once, and it was actually pretty good.
Okay. You'll have to ask her to make me some. I
I
want to
wouldn't
try
say
some.
it's like my favorite meal of all time, but it's not like
You're not gonna
gross.
like think back to your childhood about how your mom used to make it and then like give like a 5-star rating to a restaurant
Yeah, yeah.
that's breaking every food regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if the pitch meeting is like, what if we had a movie?
He just like grabs his hair and he like makes the food because it's like a rat inside of his
Oh my
hat.
goodness.
And then they're
Just
like upset that it's a rat inside of his hat instead of him making the food.
just thinking about the pitch meeting is making me laugh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it's like in France in like the 20s for like some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I bet someone was like on shrooms and then was just like dedicated to that idea. And then, you know.
Yeah.
So my number three favorite anime movie. favorite animated movie of all time is Mulan.
Oh, that's super good too.
Yeah, yeah. Feeling some
There's
regret.
all these movies that I've forgotten about that like that's what I get for making my list really quick.
So I really like Mulan. The premise of that movie is there's a girl in like ancient China where her community basically thinks she's really bad at being a woman, and the Huns attack. So her father, who's basically crippled from like the last war, gets drafted. And so what she decides to do is to break social norm and what her family wishes. And basically, the society doesn't want her to do. And she takes her father's sword and armor and pretends to be a man in the military. And, if people find out that she's a woman, then she'll die. But it's just to spare her father from like an inevitable death, a pointless death. So I think it's like a very beautiful movie, but it's also really funny and it's really relatable. And
Mhm.
I think anyone can relate to Mulan. And Mushu is hilarious.
Yeah.
But like the animation itself is like has like the super mystical epic feel to it that I don't think it's like I think that's true with a lot of these animated movies. Like you can't really capture that in like live action. Like no matter how much like CGI you do, there's something about like actually having it like hand drawn and animated where it's like it brings in like beauty to the film.
I agree.
Yeah. Downs number three is The Incredibles. So
Ooh.
what he says is, follow life of Bob, who's a superhero in a world of superheroes who goes through a midlife crisis. So he uses the same thing because superheroes become illegal. The movie is good because Bob's character is done well for someone who is doing a job they hate and a life he doesn't want. The story is fantastic because it has one of the best written animated villains. The animation is great because it's like translating cartoonish characters into a comic book into the 90s world and looks very believable. I do agree. Like, what's the villain's name in that movie?
Oh, he's the red hair guy, right?
Is it Syndrome?
Syndrome, yeah.
Like, as
Yeah.
in Down syndrome?
We shouldn't be laughing at that.
I think they did that on purpose, so it's their fault. so, so, yeah, I think Syndrome is like a really good villain. Like someone that like Mr. Incredible, he was like he failed as to be like a hero to somebody. So it's again is like a very like relatable male figure way to feel. It's like you failed somebody. Now they hate you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like his motivation is reasonable.
Yeah, it's like I can understand that. It's like he strikes me as a kid who doesn't have like a father figure in his like a father in his life. And so like he kind of
Mhm.
assumed Mr. Incredible. So it's kind of like tragic in a way.
Yeah.
Good movie villains are hard to find. What's your number four, Spencer?
Wait, we're on number
Oh, number
three, aren't
three.
we?
Number three, excuse me. Yeah, number
Yeah.
three.
My number three is Up. And I like Up because one, it's a heartfelt story, but there is comedy aspects to it.
Mm.
Like Doug is really funny. Like the interactions between the dogs, like whoever had the idea of having dog thoughts is a genius.
Yeah.
Because it's really funny. And when like the big mean dog, his collar breaks and he like has a squeaky voice, I think that's peak comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's wildly unrealistic, but that's because it's an animated movie and that's okay. So I really enjoy the story and everything about that movie. So
I think it was like I don't know, like Pixar, because that's a Pixar movie, right?
I think so.
They just come up with like these super like wild premises. Like I think so we've done like Incredibles, Up, I think you said Ratatouille. It's like they just come up with these like wild premises and they just like make it work. So
Hmm. Oh, and I forgot to mention the plot for those of you who haven't seen it, but this guy was married to his wife who passed away, and she always wanted to like go on adventures. And so this Boy Scout like needed help with something, and then they ended up going on an adventure with their house in balloons.
they end up going up.
Yep, the title was accurate.
Yeah.
All right, number
Very cool.
two.
Oh, my number two. Okay, number two favorite movie of all time was The Emperor's New Groove. So,
Oh,
to give my premise, it takes place in the Peruvian highlands of an Incan empire. Uh,
ooh,
yeah, it's fancy.
fancy.
The emperor is very selfish and he wants to destroy a village to make his vacation house there. And after he fires his advisor, she takes revenge on him and mistakenly turns him into a llama. And then her assistant Kronk mistakenly loses him, and he ends up in the hands of the village leader. And so we're like Pacha's like a very nice person, very unselfish, very caring, and they have to work together. I think it's a very like it works because it's super funny all the time. Every character I think is completely charismatic in their own way, whereas like Kronk is like kind of dumb, but he's just very like you know he's taking things very seriously and like I don't know how to describe him,
Yeah.
but
I would say
David
very
Spade,
bold.
yeah, bold. Like he's just kind of like it's funny that he like works under like Yzma because Yzma is kind of like this evil person, and he's just kind of like this good-hearted, unassuming, like you know, like
Yeah.
probably doesn't even realize he works for somebody who's like evil. And then like the Cusco, the Emperor, he's like voiced by David Spade, and he like nails his character, and like even though he's like awful, you just like think he's like super funny.
Yeah.
That's why the movie works. The animation is also very interesting. It's got like this, like kind of like that ancient America style to it, but it's like the cartoons also help make it like really funny. Something that I also don't think could be accomplished in live action, just because like all their expressions and like the way they act is like it can only be done through animation.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right. So Downs number two is it? Yeah, it was somewhere around.
Yeah.
Is Toy Story.
Mm.
So he likes the premise of the toys are actually alive and follow the story of Woody and how he's slowly losing his place in his own owner's favorite toy. So this is the first Toy Story, and
Hmm.
Woody is surprisingly relatable for a toy. The music is great as well. The animation is impressive because the movie was a pioneer for Pixar and what they could do with animation,
Yeah.
which is very true. Yeah, I think Toy Story is a great movie. So,
Yeah. It's a solid one. It's very memorable. Like I can remember most of that movie.
yeah, I think Buzz and Woody's relationship is like it's kind of funny. It's similar to like a buddy cop movie, but they like are actual mortal enemies through most of the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, what's your number two, Spencer?
All right. My number two is Shrek. And I think Shrek is great. There's a lot of funny moments. Donkey is hilarious. The story is good. And there's a lot of, I think we talked about this earlier today, but there's a lot of references to like pop culture, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I'll say for now.
Okay. So, I want you to guess what me and Down's number one film.
Shrek.
That's funny. Like that. I'd say, well, I think I'll read it Downs first and then I'll talk about it. So the
Okay.
premise is about an ogre named Shrek who is in a fairy tale world and he's roped into rescuing a princess to reclaim his land. I think this is my version of the premise of the story. So a Scottish ogre is an ugly and is hated by all except for a donkey with a very urban American accent. And some dirty fairy tale immigrants, get onto his property, his lawn, and so he wants them out. So the feudal lord will deport these illegals if Shrek agrees to rescue a fiery female beast from a fiery female beast.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. Yeah, I think it's like Don was saying, like the adult humor is good, but it's also very kid friendly sometimes. Or like most of the time. It's like it's a good like take on fairy tale characters, making them like a little bit more adult and relatable. The soundtrack is great throughout the movie. Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with all that as well. I think like I can't. I'm trying to. I think it's the biggest thing is its humor. Like Dallin was saying, where it's like it's got the adult and the kid slapstick humor. The soundtrack is perfect. Like they only picked the songs that were like perfectly set for whatever setting, like Bad Reputation or like Hallelujah. But like I think Shrek is one of the more relatable like characters, and the story is so loved because it's like the only like story where like Beauty and the Beast is similar premise where it's like you gotta like somebody for who they are underneath instead of like for their outward appearance. But in like
Mhm.
Beauty and the Beast, he turns into a handsome prince at the end, whereas like in this movie, Fiona turns into like an ugly ogre, and they're just like instead of it's like it kind of spits in the face of all these like fairy tale stories where they give you like the wrong lesson about people and about finding beauty within yourself.
Mhm.
and it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. It does that really well.
I'm kind of upset that it's your number two.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I put my list together really fast, so not a ton of thought went into my list. Like, I kind of wish I put Mulan in my list, but I forgot
Uh-huh.
about it. But my number one, I put Kung Fu Panda.
Oh.
I think the reason I put this one over Shrek is it's also really funny,
Mhm.
but I also feel like it's more relatable than Shrek is.
How dare you?
So it has so basically the premise is like this panda who's works in a noodle shop, like ends up becoming this like kung fu master to like save the town and stuff like that from this villain. Which, by the way, the villain I think is super cool, and how he's in like this supposed maximum security prison and then he like leaves at the right time because Poe is becoming a master. Anyways, but there's a really good message in the movie as well. Like when he gets the scroll and it's just a mirror basically of himself. And like it's saying that like you can be as good as you want to be kind of a thing. I think that's a really good message. But yeah, it's really funny. It has a lot of memes from the movie, which I like. And so yeah, that's why I picked that one as my first favorite.
Well, I'll give you this chance to switch your number one and two if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I'll put Mulan at number two and then Shrek at number three. No, just kidding.
Wow. Wow. Uh yeah. Now these are like tough ones to actually like rank, I think like you're saying, where like for whatever reason, like I think people, it's not just me, but a lot of people are like in love with Shrek and like it was your number two.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda is also a really good one where it's kind of like similar message where it's like Poe's not like your classic hero's journey, you know.
yeah,
Like he does train to get better, but it's not like Hercules where he's like zero to hero.
yeah.
Yeah. What did you watch the newest one?
I have
Kung Fu.
not seen the newest one. I actually don't even think I've seen the third one. I
Okay.
have seen the second one though, but
Yeah.
I, yeah, I haven't heard anything about the new one actually, so I don't know if it's good or not.
I think I've heard mostly negative reviews, but I mean the fact that people aren't like the Kung Fu Panda first one was like pretty much everyone watched that, or anyone with kids, I should say. No, I think it's a good one. Tai Lung
Yeah.
is also a great villain. I think that's true with like a lot of these movies. Is like all
Mhm.
five movies are all relatable villains in each of those movies, except for maybe like Mulan, which is like this super scary. You know, I think like what's his name? I can't remember the Mulan's villain's name,
Oh, I know
but
who you're talking about.
he's not like relatable, but he's like definitely competent and scary. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
when he's like bursting out of the snow, it was like cool, but you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his creepy eagle, his creepy little falcon friend, the scariest Disney pet.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I just thought of a great episode idea. We should rank sidekicks like Mushu or
what's the Little
Pascal from
Mermaid?
Tangled. Oh, the crab.
Flounder. Oh, you think the
Oh.
crab is the sidekick? Little Mermaid
Or flounder.
or flounder?
Dory. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote the eels. You know, like Ursula's little eel buddies. You know, they're like, ah. We should do like the creepiest sidekicks, Disney sidekicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts about these anime movies? You know.
There's a lot of, I think there's more good animated movies than there are good real like live action movies, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's easier to make a good animated movie because you can just like animate it differently if it's not what you want. I don't know. Whereas like when you
Yeah.
shoot it, it's like one and done. I mean, you can take multiple takes, but once you're like limited to those takes, I don't know.
Yeah, in certain circumstances, there's more control with animated, and I think there's like some, like I was saying with a lot of these movies, like I don't think they could be done live action because you just can't like
Yeah.
convey the setting or the characters the same way.
Yeah.
Well, I think also my final thought is you can do animated movies cheaply, so it's like it's more reasonable. And I think like Beyond the Spider-Verse or like Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse are really good movies because they are like you can do them like cheaper than all these live action movies. So
Hmm.
I don't know. They're just cool. They're just fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening and watching this episode. Let us know down in the comments if you agree with our lists. And please make sure to like and subscribe or review or whatever you want to do to help out the show. And we will see you in the next episode. Hmm.
Hmm.